Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing vaccinations for American expats in Thailand. And we're specifically discussing this. A lot of folks have asked me a lot about, well, when is the U.S. Embassy going to step in and vaccinate American expats? This especially came up, I got some correspondence on this the other day in light of, I believe it was the French embassy has said that they will be providing vaccination services for their nationals in Thailand. I recently came upon a letter from Michael Heath, the Charge d'Affaires of the embassy in Thailand. And the Charge, when there's no ambassador to a country, the Charge d'Affaires is sort of the de facto, I hesitate to call them the de facto ambassador. That's not actually what they are, but they kind of act in lieu of that person. They're sort of the acting head of the mission until a new ambassador is appointed. But this letter, and you can find this on the U.S. Embassy's website, but I just wanted to quote a few things from here that I thought really got to the heart of this. Quoting directly, "The U.S. diplomatic mission has not been spared by COVID-19, as several families in our community have endured tragedies from this terrible pandemic." Quoting further, "The U.S. Department of State is unable to provide vaccines to the millions of Americans who reside outside of the United States. For those who wish to return to the United States to be vaccinated, information on vaccine availability at the state level is available at www.vaccines.gov. Meanwhile, as Thailand pursues its vaccination program, I will continue to advocate for your equitable access, keeping in mind that many Thai citizens are also waiting for their own vaccines." So, and he goes on to note that they are, they're trying to provide Thailand with assistance in getting vaccines and things of this nature. Not really the crux of the thing that people have been contacting me about. As the Charge brings up in there, just to note that again, they're unable to provide vaccines to the millions of Americans who reside outside the United States. I mean, honestly, and I know people get kind of mad at me sometimes when I say things like this, but the embassy's function, especially with regard to expats, is pretty limited. I mean, providing passport services, certain services regarding documentation, assistance with visas for the spouses of an American, that they do that, they process that through. But, if you live abroad, I think the overall paradigm on that, or the overall thinking at a policy level, is you've chosen to live in that country. If you've chosen to live in Thailand, that's where you've chosen to live. You're not living in Thailand under sort of an American bubble. You're just living in Thailand and you are an American. I think if they had their druthers, they probably would provide vaccines if they could, but I don't think people really quite understand the logistical obstacles that would arise to try to provide. I don't know how many American expats are in Thailand. I would have to think probably somewhere around 10,000, I would think, total. And I'm not talking necessarily about people who are kind of in and out, but just people who live here full-time, unfettered. That may be a low number. In fact, probably not a good idea for me to guess on such things. But it's a lot of people. And we've seen the organizational and logistical problems that come with, the warp speed program in the United States. I mean, it really was quite a feat of organizational acumen to get things rolled out as quickly as they were rolled out in America. We're seeing issues in getting things rolled out in Thailand, certainly. For the State Department to sort of have to do that on a miniaturized level for every embassy throughout the world, that would be a daunting project. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it would be difficult. And I personally don't, and this is a personal opinion, but I personally don't really expect the embassy to do that for me. Now, I take the position that I immigrated here, and notwithstanding the fact I love the old country, I mean, I live and work here, and my roots are kind of more here, but I do understand people that kind of view that as maybe a responsibility of the embassy, but I just think under the circumstances, we have to just kind of deal with the local conditions.